What's up guys, Brendan Hancock here with another episode of Groove Subaru today, and today we've brought along the 2019 Subaru Forester and the 2019 Subaru Outback, and today we're going to go over some of the similarities and differences between these vehicles and determine which one's the right car for you. Let's go take a look. Now the reason that we're doing this video today is because many people that are considering an Outback are also considering a Forester and vice versa. Now the Subaru Outback is our #1 selling vehicle and has been for many years, and the Subaru Forester is in second place right behind it. So the reason that is these are both sort of mid-sized cars and suitable for families with a number of kids. So if you look at them on paper in terms of fuel economy, horsepower, cargo capacity, and features, they're very, very similar. Now, a couple things that really differentiate these two vehicles are how they are arranged and really more of the way that they drive. Now, despite these kind of being in similar classes, the Subaru Outback is definitely going to drive much more like a car, and that's always kind of been the way it is. Now, these do have the same level of ground clearance. They're both looking at 8.7 inches of ground clearance. However, the seating position on the Outback is going to drive so much more like a car, you're not even going to feel like you're that high off the ground. In contrast, the Subaru Forester is going to drive much more like an SUV. Now, I don't say that in the sense of it's not going to feel like you're driving a 4Runner or something with a true, body-on-frame platform or anything like that. But the seating position and the way that they've arranged it, there's a lot more adjustability in terms of the seating height, and the visibility is also quite a bit better as well. But the biggest thing is that you're really going to feel like you're sitting quite a bit higher up, which is going to give you that better visibility, especially if you're a shorter driver in the Subaru Forester. Now, a couple things in terms of cargo capacity dimensions of these vehicles. Now, cargo capacity on this, the difference is really only going to change by about 3 cubic feet, and actually kind of goes back and forth depending on whether or not the Forester comes equipped with the moonroof. So you're actually looking at around 73.3 cubic feet of space, maximum cargo volume, that's with the seats folded down and everything, in the Outback. Now, in the Forester, you're actually looking at about 70 cubic feet if it does have the moonroof, and 76 if it doesn't. Now, that doesn't seem to make sense for most people. The reason for that is because you have a panoramic moonroof in the Forester, which kind of goes into that second row. So when they're looking at maximum cargo capacity, they're not assuming you're going to stuff boxes in the driver's seat and front passenger seat. So they're really considering, behind those seats. And since that moonroof takes up a lot of that space, it does kind of affect cargo capacity. So if you kind of balanced it in the middle, in terms of the actual space inside the vehicle, almost exactly the same. Now, the difference really becomes in kind of the height as well as the length. Now, as I mentioned, the Subaru Forester definitely gives a lot more of that SUV sort of feel. The Outback gives a little bit more of that station wagon kind of feel, and it's about 8 inches longer. Now, in terms of actual height, the Forester is only about 2 inches higher. That's assuming, both have the roof rails, which the Outback always is going to have, and almost every single Forester is going to have as well. So height-wise too, not really a huge difference. Where we do start to see the difference though in the cargo capacities, if we actually go take a look at the back here, one thing we will notice is on the Forester here, the entrance point to which you actually would put stuff here in the trunk is significantly wider. It's about 4 feet wide, and even more importantly here, you also have a much higher entry point here. So despite the fact that the Outback is about 8 inches longer, most of that being in the rear here, you're really going to see a very similar cargo capacity overall. So if you're looking to put longer items like skis, or you're looking to camp, which a lot of people actually do in the Outback, not so much in the Forester, that would make sense to kind of go the Outback route. But if you're looking at, stacking up boxes, or you're looking at putting, pieces of furniture in here that have a relative, high height to them, the Forester is definitely going to be more beneficial to you. Now, we've talked about some of the overall dimensions and differences and similarities between these two cars, but here we're going to take a look at the engines, and they are very, very similar. So right here we have the Outback. This is a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter boxer engine and puts out about 175 horsepower. Now, as I mentioned previously, the Forester is completely redesigned for 2019, and that is going to include a different engine. So it's very similar to it, and actually last year, this car in a 2018 would have had the same engine that we're looking at right here. But for 2019, they did a complete redesign, and a couple things that they changed with the engine. Obviously you are going to notice the cap here that you have on top here. Kind of gives it a little sportier of a look. But they have increased horsepower slightly, up to 182 horsepower, and also modified the transmission. Now, these are both going to run CVTs, but this one is going to now be a little bit bit peppier, a little bit more responsive, especially at low RPMs. Another thing that the Subaru Forester has new for 2019, it is going to have auto start stop technology, meaning when you do come to a complete stop, the Forester here is going to actually turn off the engine momentarily, excluding a couple scenarios. For example, you're blasting the AC or the heat, or you're above 10,000 feet, things of that nature, whereas the Outback over here does not have that. Now, one other option here to consider, these are kind of comparable engine choices here that you have, but the Outback still for 2019 is going to give you the option of a larger engine option, giving you the 3.6 liter naturally aspirated engine that's going to put out 256 horsepower. So that is going to eventually go away, but as for right now, it's available only in higher trims, but the Outback does have a larger engine option. Obviously, if price isn't as important to you there, you can go to a higher trim and get a bigger engine. No longer is that an option here on the Forester. Now, as we compare the insides of these two vehicles, I'm sitting right now inside of the 2019 Forester. And just so you guys have this for reference, both of these cars are 2.5i premium trim levels, meaning they're kind of the middle of the road. They have things like heated seats and stuff like that, but we're not going to see leather seating surfaces and stuff like that, like in the limited and touring options of the vehicle. Now, one thing you'll notice in this car is it definitely focuses a little bit more on sportiness. One thing that is definitely carrying over a lot, and probably one of the most important things to consider when comparing these vehicles, is that the new 2019 Forester, since it's a complete redesign, is actually built on the global platform. So even though these cars are so similar in numbers, this is on a completely new platform called the global platform, which a lot of our other cars are built on. And the reason they call it the global platform is because it's modular in nature, meaning they can widen it and elongate it to fit different models. So this car is actually built on the same platform as not only the Impreza Crosstrek, but also the 7 and 8 passenger Subaru Ascent, which is a much larger vehicle than this. But one of the big benefits of that chassis is that it is going to provide you with a 70% more rigid chassis. It has 50% less body roll, 40% better energy absorption, and also is going to help to insulate noise significantly better. But in terms of the interior aesthetics, though, a lot of the cars that are on the global platform are carrying over with design elements. So a lot of the stitching that we see here, the arch that we see across here as it kind of connects into the door panels, even the interior here, we're seeing a lot of carryover on other cars, even the stitching pattern. Now, not so much the colors that we see on the outside, but like the stitching pattern and everything. This looks very much the same of what we'll see in like a Crosstrek or an Impreza. So they're definitely kind of unifying the different cars that are on that platform, especially on the inside, to kind of look much more similar. Now, one of the downsides that I don't like about at least with the premium trim level, is that on this one, we're only going to get the 6.5-inch touchscreen infotainment system here. Now, this is a Starlink touchscreen infotainment system, so we will have standard Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. We do have our backup camera and everything here, so you can, use Google Maps, Waze, and stuff like that up here on the screen, make phone calls, send text messages, use Siri, Google Voice, whatever you want to. So that is nice, but I find that whereas the Outback, which we'll take a look at, has the larger screen, the operating speed of it is just a little bit better. And so in terms of like the tech and stuff that you go with this infotainment system, just not quite there of what we'll see on a premium Outback in terms of a similar price point. Now, if we do look down here, we do have our shifter knob. On the premium trim level, you're only going to have the low gear down here, which, in a lot of cars, you'll see, gear 1, 2, 3. This is kind of combining all of those together. It's just going to put you into the lowest gear you can be in given your speed. So this can be helpful for going down steep hills, for when you're off-roading. And also, we do have X mode here. Now, we have the dual X mode here, and they actually don't call it that, but we do have X mode here. The premium trim level has it a little bit differently now. So they actually have, if you want to do regular X mode, this is like an off-roading mode. I would simply push down there and then I can activate X mode. And what that does is it has a throttle control management system that helps prevent slippage and sends power to the wheel with better traction. And on downhills, it has a feature called hill descent control, which actually uses the traction stability control to brake for you as you're going down steep hills. Now on the Forester Premium, if I just push that button, it's the same thing as if I push the X mode button in the Outback. But here I can actually, in the same spot, just twist to the left and turn off traction control, which would allow the wheels to spin. So in a scenario, for example, you're stuck in deep snow or mud or something like that, you want the wheels to spin to kind of help you. And so here I like how it's kind of all in one spot. Now, if you want to turn it back to regular, to have traction control back on, just twist to the right where it says normal, and then just push the button again to turn it off. It's for very, very slow speeds, only for under 18 miles an hour, so this is not just because there's an inch of snow on the ground or anything like that. In terms of the steering wheel design, pretty much everything here is going to look almost the same. One benefit that the Forester has over the Outback, though, is that it does include SI drive. So here on the right spoke of the steering wheel, we have two buttons, one that says S, one that says I, and that's going to give us two different driving modes. And as I mentioned, it's a little bit more of a sportier car than the Outback is. So this is going to give us the option of a sport mode, which is not something that, the Outback has as an option, unfortunately. But in terms of features, very similar. We're going to get automatic climate control, automatic headlights. The Forester, unfortunately, does not come with fog lights on this package. It used to, which is strange, but unfortunately does not come with that. We will get the standard Starlink safety and security system, which is our telematics system. Both vehicles will have this, and both vehicles are also going to come with the eyesight safety system standard, even on the base model. So that's going to give us features like pre-collision braking, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, and a whole bunch of other features as well, which makes both of these vehicles an IHS Top Safety Pick Plus. Now, as I mentioned too previously, we do have the extremely adjustable front driver's seat. So if I show you here, if I go down, this is power driver's seat on the driver's side on both of these, so very similar there. But this is with it all the way down, which actually kind of gives it more of an Outback feel. But if I want to, I can raise this all the way up, and I'm about 6'1" too. I can raise this all the way up, still going, to literally where almost my head touches the top. So this is a huge, huge amount of height adjustment ability that the Outback does not have, which if you are a shorter driver, the Forester is probably going to be a better choice for that reason specifically. Now let's go take a look in the back seat before heading on over to the Outback. So I'm sitting behind myself where I had my seat adjusted to, and I'm 6'1" here. And the back of the Forester is an extremely comfortable place to be. You can easily squeeze 3 adults back here. For a 10-hour road trip, I probably wouldn't want to, but definitely doable. And you can easily fit 3 kids back here, no problem whatsoever, with still plenty of space in the back for all your stuff. So in terms of features back here, very similar to what you're gonna see in the Outback. We do have soft touch surfaces here. As I mentioned, a little sportier here with this kind of fake carbon fiber here. But one of the biggest benefits that the Forester now has over the Outback on the premium is that now we do have vents back here for the passengers. Now, even in my wife's 2017 touring Forester, we didn't have these. So this is a really, really nice thing to see. We don't have heated seats back here on this trim level. We can't adjust the climate control or anything like that, but having those vents back here is such a blessing. And one of the nicest things I like about the Forester too, massive panoramic moonroof up here. So that's going to come standard on premium and above. It is absolutely massive. I would probably go ahead and say about twice the size of the moonroof on the Outback. And on the trim level, when we're comparing these, these are almost within hundreds of dollars of each other. That one is not even going to come with a moonroof. So you can get a premium with a moonroof. Limited, you can get them with the moonroof. Touring, it's standard, but the moonroof is much, much smaller. And on the Forester, opening this up, especially if you're in the front 2 seats, it almost feels like you're in a convertible. So we're sitting inside of the premium Outback now, and one of the big things that I mentioned, the Forester Premium, has that 6.5-inch screen, and even on the premium Outback, you're going to get the larger 8-inch screen. So if you really like the technology kind of stuff here, I'd really say that the Outback is better in that scenario at the same price point. Now, you can get the larger screen in higher trim levels of the Forester, but if you're really on that, sub $30,000 price range and you want this bigger screen, Outback's going to be the way to go. You're still going to be able to do everything, most of the same stuff. You still have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that kind of stuff. But the big thing on this is that you do have the built-in Wi-Fi where you're able to connect it to your home to do over-the-air software updates, and that's huge. That really makes it a lot more convenient to do over-the-air software updates rather than having to download them onto a USB and plug them in and stuff like that. So definitely makes things a little bit easier, and overall just the operational speed is much faster on this. Now we do have heated seats again. We have automatic climate control, but on the Outback Premium, you're going to have dual climate control, meaning the passenger over here can set a completely different temperature. If husband and wife or you and your significant other are arguing about, I want it really hot, I want it really cold, you do have the ability to change that. In this car, you don't. On the Forester, you're just going to have automatic climate control. Now, if we look down here, it's been like this for a couple years. Not a lot has changed here. We do still have almost all the same stuff. We have X mode. That one has auto vehicle hold. This one has hill holder, very similar things where you can kind of put your foot on the brake for a little bit, take it off, and the car will kind of stay there. And we have the electric parking brake. The big difference, a little bit more of a simplistic design, but we do have paddle shifters on the Outback. So you can get paddle shifters on a Forester Sport, which is one trim level above it, but no other ones. And this is going to give us a little bit more control. It allows us to go from drive to manual mode, and we can shift using these paddles over here. So I can upshift to the right, downshift to the left. It just gives you a little bit more control if you're off-roading, trying to get unstuck from snow, or just coming down, a large mountain and want to do what's called engine braking, where you're just kind of downshifting a little bit. In terms of the other elements of the steering wheel, though, very similar design. We still have the screen, directly in front of us here, very similar setup. We do have automatic headlights, just like on the Forester, although we do have fog lights on this car, which is a huge benefit. So I do love having that. In terms of, other features we have here, we do have the Starlink safety and security system. We do have the eyesight, with the pre-collision braking, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control. So all that's the same. The biggest thing we don't have, no moonroof. So we have the better infotainment system. No moonroof, worse infotainment system. So let's go take a look in the back. So sitting in the back of the Outback, pretty similar in terms of features and amenities we have here. And in terms of legroom, I did the best I could to kind of get these even. I felt like I had a little bit more legroom in the Forester. Although it's still not a problem, and I'm still 6'1". I might have this reclined a smidge more. I have it back about the same. This might be a smidge more reclined, but I did feel like I had slightly more legroom in the Forester, but nothing that's a problem. My legs don't touch it all. I do still have these center armrests, with these two cup holders here, and the ability to recline the rear seat, which I have done right now. The biggest thing, we kind of have a little trade-off here in the center, though. So in the Forester, we had the air vents kind of right here. And if this was a higher trim level, like a Limited or Touring, we would have that on the Outback. But one thing we didn't have in the rear, at least on that Premium, was the outlets back here. So we do have two USB outlets that are available down here to charge your phone for your passengers. So that was a nice thing to have. Now, it is something, I think you can add as an accessory on the Forester, but it's not coming standard. So you kind of trade off the air to the, charging of your phone. I guess, what's more important to you? Personally, I'd like to have the air vents. If I was sitting back here, if I had like a baby or something like that, I would like to have those air vents back here. So definitely a positive I would say positive in favor of the Forester on that one. So, overall, biggest differences, capability and everything. I think it's very, very equal. They both have X mode, very similar all-wheel drive system. They both have 8.7 inches of ground clearance, cargo capacity, everything like that's very much the same. Really, what you're getting is better infotainment system, here on the Outback in the Premium trim, whereas you're going to get a nice moonroof, a little bit more sporty interior on the Forester, and you're also going to get that taller, cargo area in the back. So if you want a little bit more of a sporty drive, if a little bit more cushy drive too is more in your favor over the better infotainment system in this price range, I think that the Forester is the better option for you. If you are looking to camp, in this vehicle, or the fact that you have built-in roof rails with this one, which is super convenient. You can fold them in if you're not using them. I love that feature. I think all Subarus honestly should have that, at least the ones with the 8.7 inches of ground clearance, the Crosstrek and, the Forester, the Ascent, I think they should all have them. But really, if you're going to be camping in the back of this car or just need that longer, you have fishing rods, skis, stuff like that you typically put in here, the Outback would be the way to go. So really kind of depends on what your need, but overall very similar vehicles, and I think you can't go wrong with either. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, hopefully you guys have found this video to be helpful. Now, if you guys did like this video, please make sure to give us a like below. And for more helpful videos like this, just subscribe to our channel. Now, to check out our current inventory of 2019 Foresters and Outbacks, visit our website at groovesubaru.com. And to schedule your test drive, just give us a call on the number listed below or just stop on in. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you guys next time on Groove Subaru Today. Take care.